Hi everybody, this is Osprey from MyChartCoach.com, and in this video we're going to take a look here at Bitcoin first. This is Bitcoin, what is this, the Bitstamp, the Bitfinex chart, and Bitfinex chart. And so basically it's still in this downtrend, and so it's been pushing lower here. It's bouncing off of this 55, or I guess 57 to 6,000 support zone. We can see down here what happened was it came all the way over and it bounced off of, now with all the annotations is making it hard to read, but if you look over here on the left hand side of the chart, it's bouncing off of this November 12th low. Okay, so it came down and it hit right on that level and bounced, and so you can see it bounced on that on the 24th, and then it came back up and it hit it again, and that level is held. So now it's trying to get back above EMA 13. It's above that level today. That is the orange line. It's trying to hold that level right now. That is currently at 6320. And so if it can stay above that zero level right now, it's at 6330 right now, that would be very bullish. EMA 13 has been a tough level to turn into support. You can see right here it was hitting the orange line and failed to get above. Over here it was temporarily above the orange line, but failed to stay above and pulled back. And so if it can stay above the orange line, above EMA 13, then it could work its way up to this descending resistance line, which is lining up with 6,600. That 6,600 resistance zone has been the big level, and so we'll see if it can bust through that. If it could do that, that's when it could get a run back up here to the 50-day simple moving average. That's the green line here, and that would be at 71.51. And so basically right now it's all about staying above that 6320 level. Okay, so if that holds, you could see a nice 5% gain up to 6,600, bust through 6,600, and there's a possible run up here to 71.50. Okay, so fail to stay above EMA 13, and then what's likely to happen is EMAs 4 and 8, that's the pink and lime lines here. You can see the candles have been forming above both levels for 4 days in a row now. As long as candles keep forming above those two levels, Bitcoin is in play for a bounce. Now if it were to close below right now, EMA 8's on the bottom, there was a bullish crossover. The pink line crossed over the lime line to the upside, and you could see back here it failed to cross over. There was a temporary crossover back here in May when it was trying to get a bounce, but the pink line crossed back below the green line or the lime line. And so right now, if that pink line, if EMA 4 stays above EMA 8, that's going to be a signal that this reversal is intact. If you get a drop below EMA 8, below 6270, that's going to signal downside risk. Okay, take a look at NYXBT. This is the New York Stock Exchange Bitcoin Index. Okay, and so what we're looking at here is the weekly chart. This is an old chart that I posted back when this was topping out, and you could see down here on MACD, I was pointing out how it was completely vertical here, and it's an unsustainable move. Nothing can sustain this trajectory. A correction should be coming soon, and you could see that was right at the top. And so it's been, you could see that was in December when that was posted, and it pushed a little bit higher, and then boom, the bottom fell out, and it's been downhill ever since. Right now on the weekly chart here, you can see this is like a falling wedge type pattern. And so it's hitting descending support right here, and so it looks like it could come down here to around that's that 5,500 level to test support, and then that's the bottom of this channel. And then if that were failed to hold, what you have below is the 100-week moving average at 4568. I mean, that could be the target. You could see when it came down here and hit the 50-week moving average the first time back here in April, there was a really nice bounce. A 4-week run followed, and so coming down here and hitting that 100-week moving average would be a catalyst for people to load. Right now, I would say, just stay away from going long on Bitcoin unless either you're trying to play off of this 100-week moving average, or if it breaks above EMA 4 at 6441. 1. Okay, so that pink line. Notice how every single one of these candles is below the pink line. It didn't get an uptrend last time until there was the close above the pink line on the second week of April, and then it got the nice run. Since then, since the start of May, every single close has been below EMA 4. So once there's finally a close above that level, that's how you'll know there's a reversal. The thing is, you can try to catch the falling knife, but until EMA 4 breaks, there's going to be more downside risk. Okay, take a look at XLRN here. Closed up 42% on Friday. This was a huge move. You know, this is a $48 stock. Look at the volume over here. So it had the giant volume spike. It closed above this March and January high close resistance zone. So this 45 level was a really big level for the stock. If it can stay above 45, it could keep pushing higher. If you look at the XLRN weekly chart, you can see here, so it closed above the high closes here in 2018, and so you know, it closed above this 45 level, and then now it's pushing higher, and it's hitting this 2015 high close. Okay, so this is the December 2015 level, and so it closed right at that level. It looks like at 49 or so. What's at 48.50 right now. If it can get close above this level for the week, the next key level to break is going to be over here, which is back in 2014, and what is that? March of 2014, just below 51 or 52 here. And so if it can close above both of these two levels for the week, that's going to be your big signal that it wants to keep possibly heading higher. It's going to have to keep making new highs, and so what happens is if it fails to break these two resistance levels, this could signal a temporary top. Okay, so and 45 would be the key level to hold on a pullback. Okay, take a look at GBR here. Closed up 145%. This was a huge move. Okay, so it had formed the ugly candle of the day contest on Thursday with this black candle, because it had opened way up here and it ran up to 360, and then it closed way down here near 170, and so that was just a huge pullback, and you know, big bull trap. But then on Friday, you know, it dipped, you know what, down here to this 150 zone, and you know, it opened at 170, it dipped down to this 150 level. People loaded, and then they were able to push it all the way back up to 480. That was a huge move. You don't see that type of reversal that often, so that was very cool to see. It did close well above that upper Bollinger Band in EMA 4, so that 260 level would be the big support level on a pullback, or that open there, you know, right around that $3 range. Check out the big volume. There was even bigger volume on Friday. You know, look at the trajectory here on MACD. It's completely vertical, so that is unsustainable. You know, it's not going to be able to keep pushing like this, but we'll see how long they can keep GBR here in play. You never know. There was just a huge volume last week. Look at how much volume there was. The largest volume in years, possibly all time. I'm not sure. I didn't go that far back, but you can see the resistance level that it's hitting. It is over here in 2016. This high close right here in July is the top level to break, which is at about just above 480. You could see the upper wick on this week's candle hit that zone and pull back. And so it's going to need to close above this 480 to 540, which is was the open back here on this candle, this resistance zone here. If it can break through 480 to 540, then it could possibly head higher. Up here at 620 would be the next big target. So this is a huge move last week for GBR. We'll see if it can keep it going. You could see it on previous big white candles here. You know, it did have pullbacks. And so if it does, the candle, because you could see last week's candle did close well above the upper Bollinger Band. If the candles do work back into the bands, you know, look for a potential bounce off of EMA 4 at 252. That would be the first support level. Okay, take a look at GEMP. Closed up 94%. So it formed the black candle as well. It had the big gap up open. It opened way up here at $11. It closed down here at 10.19. It's hitting this resistance from back here in January, and so it needs to close above this January 29th closing price in order to signal that it wants to head higher. If it fails to break this 1050 resistance zone, the big level to hold on a pullback would be this 300-day simple moving average. You could see the lower wick on Friday's candle bounced off of that level. That level needs to hold. If it were to drop below that 300-day simple moving average, then you could see it come all the way down to that 200-day simple moving average at 775. So it's going to be real important that it stays above that. And then for pushing higher, you know, if it get above 1050 and then close above this, you know, 1075 to $11 zone, that would be a good signal that it wants to push higher. If you look at the weekly chart here, for GEMP, you can see it closed above the green line for the week. That's the 50-week moving average, currently at 859. The other moving averages are undefined, the ones above, the 100, 200, and 300. This started trading back here in August of 2016, so this is the complete history of the trading of the stock. Right now it's hitting the January high close resistance zone, and then it's hitting resistance from back here in 2017. This 1050 level is a really big level. If it can get above it, and then you can see where the high of the week was up here around 1140, 1150. There's a gap over here between this low of day in July or low of week in July and high of week in August, and so it's going to need to break above this red line, which is the bottom of the gap level. If it can break above 1150, then it could possibly work on filling this gap. A run all the way up to 1850 would fill the gap. Okay, take a look at TNTR. Closed up 73%. This was a big bounce off the bottom. You can see here it's in a very nasty downtrend. It was above the middle Bollinger Band back here on the what is that, the 9th of March, and then you can see here it's been trading below the dotted purple line ever since. It got above right here in June, but it's failed to stay above and pulled back. And so what you're looking for now is for this level to turn to support, the middle Bollinger Band at 36. If it can get above that level and hold that level, it could possibly get a new uptrend going. If it fails to break above 26, EMA 13, that would be a major red flag. But if it get above that level and get above the middle Bollinger Band, that would be a signal that it wants to push higher. It closed above EMA's 4 and 8. It needs to stay above EMA 4 at 19. If it drops below 19, it will be a risk to hold. So it's a bounce play. It's heating up. It had big volume, but it has to break resistance to get a new uptrend going. Okay, let's look at SPCB here. Closed up 51%. This was a really big move on Friday. Look at the giant volume spike. It closed above the middle Bollinger Band here at 182. That's the dotted purple line. You know, that was the first. It closed at that level in May, and then the last time it had a solid close above was back here in March. You know, once again, that level has been failing to turn into support as this long down. You know, as it's been in this multi-month downtrend on the daily chart. But on Friday, things it looked like they're reversing here. It closed above the middle Bollinger Band and also above the 50-day simple moving average. If it can stay above 204, above this green line, you can see you have to go off this chart. Well, I guess there was a close above it back here in January was the last time there was a close above the 50-day simple moving average. If it can stay above 204 and then break above 245, that's the 100-day simple moving average, that should signal that it wants to head higher, and you could possibly see a run up to the 200 and 300-day simple moving averages in the $3 resistance zone. Okay, take a look at HMNY, closed up nearly 35%. So yeah, this thing's trying to heat up again. Check out RSI's back above 30. You know, you got Fasto pushing 50. You got Plus DI hooking up. You know, once again, this is another stock with a really nasty downtrend. You know, got above the middle Bollinger Band back here for the April run, stalled out at that green line, the 50-day simple moving average, and pulled back. It got above the middle Bollinger Band back on June 19th. There was a close above. But it pulled back. On Friday, it hit that level. It's currently 34 is the big level to break. If you see HMNY trading above 34 on Monday and it closes above that level, that makes it interesting. It could possibly get another rally going. You know, the 50-day simple moving average is way up here at 91. Now if it fails to break 34, that would be a major red flag, and if it drops below 27 there, EMA 4, that's going to signal more downside risk. You know, this is a dead cat bounce play. It had the big volume spike, but you know, it has to turn the middle Bollinger Band into support to get a new uptrend going. Okay, take a look at DAC. This is a marine transportation stock, closed up 22%, only 310,000 shares traded, but look at the volume it's had the last couple of weeks. You know, there's been some, for this thinly traded stock, it's had some nice solid volume, and so it has an uptrend going on the daily chart right now. You can see here, look at the average volume the last few months, and then boom, big volume. The big volume spike on the 20th. This is what we call an attention spike. You know, this is to wake everybody up that, hey, the stock is in play. And then, as you can see here, it's been pushing higher ever since. That also was the close above the 300-day simple moving average. It's currently trading above all the moving averages. I mean, this was a very extreme candle. It was a white Marabuzo. There's no lower wick and no upper wick. The low of day was the first trade of day, and high of day was the last trade of day. This is a maximum bullishness candle. This is the signals that the bulls were in control from the very first trade to the very last trade. No wicks, full, you know, and sometimes it's a little overdone when that happens. I mean, it still has Fasto at 73. That's because of the big pullback on that red candle and black candle. So the bottom line here is it's got a really nice uptrend going. It's trading above all the moving averages. It's really heating up. And so where is it headed? Okay, so let's look at the weekly chart. And so in my opinion, it's all about this gold line. The 100-week moving average at 193. If it can close above that level for the week, as you can see, you have to go off this chart. It's been years since there's been a close above the 100-week moving average. That should be a signal that it wants to keep this uptrend going. A new uptrend started back here in May when there was a close above the dotted purple line. You could see it kept trying to get above that 20-week moving average, and it failed. You know, back here there was a nice run up to the green line, up to the 50-week moving average, but you know, it's been having a hard time getting an uptrend going. So right now it does have a multi-week uptrend going. It's riding EMA 4 at 164. There was a close 2 weeks ago above the 50-week moving average at 145, and that level held last week, and there was another close above that level. So if you see DAC trading above 193 this week and it closes above that level, that would be really bullish, and this could, you know, keep that uptrend going. So we'll see if it can follow through. Okay, take a look at AVLR here. This is an IPO, closed up 20%. You know, it had a big move on Friday. It had a multi-day pullback, and then it bounced off of this 43 to 45, you know, support zone, and then, you know, it had once again the full Marabuzo candlestick. As you can see here, there's no lower wick on Friday's candle, and then no upper wick. Okay, so the bulls controlled the action from opening to close. I mean, it did. I mean, you know, there was some money flow. I mean, over $50 million traded on Friday. So you know, it's got, and you can see here it had the full Marabuzo on the 15th, on the first trading day. The bulls were in control. So the bottom line is it's trying to go for a blue sky breakout type of thing. That was the all-time high close on Friday. If we can get above 54, that would be really bullish. And then the all-time high is up here above 59. Once it gets above that 59 level, it'll be on the blue sky breakout, which means that, you know, there's no overhead resistance. It's traveling in uncharted waters. And yeah, as long as it stays above this EMA 4 here at 49, that should signal more upside potential. Now that it's above 51, you want to see it stay above that level. That was that all-time high close. If it drops back below 51, that would signal possible consolidation. You know, it could channel out here and go sideways, but if it can stay above 51 and break above 54, it could possibly push higher. Okay, take a look at SYN here. Closed up 14% on Friday. So yeah, so this chart's heating up. Check out how RSI closed above 50 for the first time since back here. You know, when it got back above the middle Bollinger Band back in April. And so, right, you know, this is the same kind of ugly chart where it's just been in a nasty downtrend, likely dilution. You know, it keeps getting above the middle Bollinger Band. It fails to get anything going, and it keeps hitting the green line there, the 50-day simple moving average. On Friday, it closed above the middle Bollinger Band at 23, and it's hitting the 50-day simple moving average at 24. So keep an eye on it. It had this big volume spike, right? And it could just be, you know, just more downtrend. If it drops below 22, that'll make it a risk to hold. If it stays above 22 and it breaks above 24, it could possibly get running and head up to this 100-day simple moving average at 31. So keep an eye on that one next week. And then PED here. This was a big mover last week, and then it pulled back, and then it had a bounce on Friday. Closed up 8%. I mean, look at RSI. It's still really frothy at 87. Fasto corrected on that pullback, pullback on Thursday. You know, what happens is when you get a big flag pull like this, check out the big white candle. You know, it started down here at 40 cents and it ran all the way up here to 240. It was a huge gainer. You know, many times you get consolidation because the close on Wednesday was well above the upper Bollinger Band. So the candles are working back into the bands. As this is going sideways, the upper Bollinger Band and EMA4 are heading higher. And so what you want to see is this EMA4 at 182 continue holding. As long as it's holding and candles are forming above, this chart is still super bullish. It just got ahead of itself. You know, I mean, it went up 1,000%. It went from, you know, 40 to 410, 440. I mean, that's like an 1,100% gain. And so in 2 days. So yeah, it pulled back. It had a fib retrace. Now, is it going to pull back further? Well, we'll see. If it drops below 182, that would be a major red flag. You know, then it could come down here and test EMA 8 at 133. If it breaks above 240, that's going to be bullish. That was the close here, the high close from last week. Above 240 could signal that it wants to head higher. It might retest this open up here at 350 and continue with this strong uptrend. There was big volume, you know, huge volume. They might try to keep pushing this thing. We'll just have to see what happens next week. If you look here at the weekly chart, this is showing us the big level to break. It's all about this 200-week moving average at 275. All right, so if it can close above that level for the week, then that should signal it wants to head higher. If it fails to break 275, that will signal a temporary top. Last week's candle formed well above this upper Bollinger Band at 127. The downside risk is it comes down here to EMA4 at 110, possibly test the 100-week moving average at 84. So it's going to be real important that it gets above 275. If you look over here, this is lining up with this resistance zone from you know, back here in 2016. And so you know, this is a huge channel right here. So this is a big zone to bust through. Right now it's in the middle of it, you know, of all this resistance here. And so if it can bust through 275, the top of this channel, that's going to signal that it wants to head higher. If it drops down below 175, that's going to signal downside risk, and you could see 110. Okay, let's look at AUMN here. Closed up nearly 14%. So yeah, keep an eye on this one. It's a pretty, it's a super ugly chart, right? It's been pulling back. It did have a bounce with volume on Friday, and so it closed above EMA 13 at 34. If you see it get above 355, it might heat up. It hasn't had a close above the middle Bollinger Band since the first week of May. Keep an eye on it. You know, it's an ugly chart, but for the penny traders, you know, it's something to have on the radar. If it gets above 355, it might get going. Take a look at BIOC, another one just to keep an eye on. It closed up 7.5%. Look at the multi-day pullback that this thing had. So it was down, what is this, like 8 days in a row, and then it bounced on Friday, and then you have this bullish Haremy reversal pattern. There wasn't a big volume spike, so it wasn't like people loaded heavy on Friday, but it did find support. It made the higher low, you know, so it's got the swing point number 3 thing going on for you. Swing point 1, swing point 2, swing point 3. You know, the higher low many times signals that the stock wants to push higher, and so we'll see. It's hitting the key level to break. It's all about EMA4 at 20 cents. So if you see BIOC trading above 20 cents, that should signal that it wants to push higher. And then it's going to be all about this EMA 8 and 13 and the 50-day simple moving average. If it can get above 216, 217, that's going to be really bullish. So, you know, it had a multi-day drop. Keep an eye on it. It might be able to confirm this bullish reversal pattern that formed on Friday. Okay, thanks for viewing this video. If you'd like to learn more about charts and technical analysis, please come check out the chat. I'll post the link after the video. Thank you. Or below the video on YouTube. Thank you.